All right, guys, welcome to part one of the effects of Industrial Revolution. So, and also the first ever distant learning lecture. This will be part one, hopefully of two, if yeah. All right. So you guys all week, these lectures will go with the Industrial Revolution guided notes. All right. So as you watch, you should fill it out and follow the directions. All right. So just like in class, you're going to fill in the blanks. I want you guys to use red or blue font color on the doc. All right. Only write in the words that are underlined and highlighted in blue. As we go, it should become pretty obvious. You guys should know how to do this by now. Also, during this video, I will tell you to pause it. I'll be like, please pause the video to complete the short response as we go. All right. So please listen, watch, enjoy, and rate this video if you want to, please. Okay, like it, comment, subscribe. All right, no, we're moving on. All right, so by the way, the Industrial Revolution, just a little, because it's been a while, all this chaotic shit happened. So basically, to summarize, this was a massive increase of production, all right, leading to acceleration of transportation, communication, and sales capacities all over the globe, right? England colonized multiple places for raw materials and then created factories with machines. This is all powered by this, at the heart of it was all this rise of technology, made things more efficient. So instead of relying on animal and human labor or like tech or forces, you're using fossil fuels and water, right? Like the steam engine. Okay, so at the heart of this whole thing is just this rise of technology. It's called the Industrial Revolution for a reason. Just like the Agricultural Revolution, it changed everything. It changed the game. And it lasted from 1750 to 1914, yo. All right, so this is the first part. Basically, the effects, like I said, we're going to go into. This rapid industrialization changed the entire world to our modern world. Okay, we live today in an industrialized world. So one of the effects of industrialization was this urban explosion. Okay, remember the difference between what's urban and rural? So urbanization is this rapid growth of cities. So what led to that, right? So you have agricultural improvements, right? We were able to grow more food than we ever had. We were able to transport that food quicker and further distances than ever before. And when you have more efficient agriculture or farming practices, not everybody has to farm anymore, okay? Before the industrial era, you had subsistence economies, being like families, most people, like 80–95% of the world population were farmers, okay? They weren't anything else. Maybe they have a little sidekick, like side gigs or whatever, but most of the population were their own farmers, and they made their own clothing, okay? They made their own food, anything they needed, made their own candles, yada, 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 okay? So with this agricultural improvement, not everybody had to farm anymore. So a lot of people started moving out of the rural areas to the cities, which encouraged urbanization, right? And so anyway, so going back, you have this agricultural improvements leads to population boom, okay? I'm going to show you guys a graph in a minute that's going to show you guys how much it grew at this time. So urbanization is a rapid growth of cities. Okay, so world population. If you guys look, remember on the very bottom, you have 500 CE to 2000 CE. CE is the common era. Okay, that's what we're commonly in. And the green dot, 6.9 billion people. Okay, that's in 2010. All right, that blue line before then, okay, that's the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. So you had this massive peak of population that just grew and never went back, right? Before that, it was pretty steady, pretty freaking steady, right? So change the world in that way for sure. So also with urbanization, these large cities didn't have any kind of regulation by the government. So they would just kind of form, and then there was no like police or firefighters at this time. So they suffered from really inadequate sewage or infrastructure systems. So like the sewage system, really bad roads, but yeah, cars at this time yet, okay? But poor lighting, just everything's kind of just like together. So they had really terrible sewage systems, and you guys will see how bad it actually is in a second. They had really crowded and unsafe housing, bad pollution, okay, crime, disease, and then people were just anxious and terrified all the time. Life was hard. All right, so here are some industrialized cities. Ew. Oh, more ew. All right, tenements basically are where you have kind of like apartments, however, it's not as big. You just have a room that an entire family lives in. And like families today, modern families are like, you know, at the most 5 kids. Back then, you were just popping out kids because most of them would die anyway, and you needed, you know, them to go work. So these entire homes were so crowded. It's beyond your capacity to even think of, right? So it's ill. Rooms were rented. Sometimes they didn't even have bathrooms. Oh, more ill. Well, this is laundry day. Oh, the little child. I'm like, oh, you can't see me pointing. Yeah, pretty crazy. Okay, here's the solution. If you do not have a bathroom in your new tenement, right? Here is how you can deal with this. So this is an entire family, right? They're getting some clothes together, right? You see that girl by the window. What is she holding? She's holding a chamber pot. So if you do not have a toilet or a hole to go defecate in, you just go in a little pot. And where would you pour it? Out the window, right on the street. Okay, yeah. That was good. Sorry, I have to have fun, guys. I have to have fun. All right, and then you also had this about the slums. This is a term you'll see. It's basically just describes like really, really, really crowded and poor living condition areas, and a lot of them are like if you look at places like Brazil, very big cities, in third world countries, you'll have this idea of these slums. So it looks inhabitable, but the poor working class lived in places like this, right? Oh, that's not even my phone. Okay, so Charles Dickens, he's a famous writer. He grew up during this age, and this is a quote from his book called The Hard Times about industrial living in an industrialized city in 1854. So it was a town of red brick, or a brick that would have been red if the smoke and ashes had allowed it. But as matters stood, it was a town of a natural red and black, like the painted face of a savage. It was a town of machinery and tall chimneys, out of which endless serpents of smoke trailed themselves forever and ever and never got uncoiled. It had a black canal in it, and a river that ran purple with ill-smelling dye, and vast piles of buildings full of windows where there was a rattling and trembling all day long, and where the piston of the steam engine worked monotonously, up and down, like the head of an elephant in a state of melancholy madness. Ooh, yeah, right? Yeah. That picture says a lot, right? Yeah, there's no regulation on where things should go. If you had a factory, you just run right into the river. That's why those rivers were black or had ill-colored purple dye. Okay, ew. All right, so in the guide notes, this is a place where you should pause and review this image, do a image analysis, right? So go ahead and pause it, answer those questions. Look at that kid pointing right at you, right? and then we'll move on. So yeah, make sure you pause and answer that image analysis question for this picture. I found this picture and I had to add it. It's New York City in 1890s. Okay, so compare this to like current day New York City. And also what's amazing about this picture, it's all in color. So it's so cool. It's very rare. Look at that crazy overpopulated city. There's not even cars yet. So many people are out and about. It's just so cool. So cool. All right, moving on. All right, so describing the working conditions. So often whole families, and as you guys can see in the pictures, I mean, whole families were forced to work 12 to 16-hour days. All right, today, the cap is 40 hours a week. If you work over 40 hours a week, companies are legally required to pay you time and a half. So your salary or your hourly salary plus half of that. Okay, so 12 to 16, so that's about 8 hours for 5 days, right? And it can be changed, but 12 to 16-hour days. And guys, forget about having weekends, right? This was your life every single day, and you got paid crap, and the working conditions were terrible. So here I want you guys to pause and answer this question. Think about it. Textile factories often employ young children. Why do you think that is? Please pause and respond to the question. All right, here's a picture of steel workers, probably really hot, nasty. Ew. Right, here's a picture of beer production, right? The mixing of malt. They're straight up, this is sanitary, straight up in the beer, right? And they're just rolling their whole bodies and sweat and, ugh, oh God, please. Picture's pretty haunting. More children just working away. Yeah, how old do you think that girl is? Probably like 5, 6. Okay, injuries happened all the time. The kid on the right with the pipe, he has to use that, what do you call that thing? Like a staff to help him walk because he might be, like his leg might be crippled. Yeah, pretty haunting. All right, children also worked in mines. Yeah, they were good for going through small passages. Ugh. Bubba's, all of them. Yeah, it's really messed up. Yeah, life was not easy. Next picture, I love this. Look at, they're protesting and they want to go to school. This is why history puts things in perspective. We complain about going to school and learning, and these kids are begging for it. Okay, so we're gonna pause here. This is the end of this lecture. On this slide will be the end. Okay, and then I will have a second video to do the second half of the notes. So before we end, I'm gonna ask you guys a couple questions. And I just want you to think about it. So what could these workers do to improve their working conditions? Are there any things that they could have done? So they have these factories, they have these bosses, right? And there's tons of people who work in this mine. What are ways they could have like tried to change the hours, or what are some tactics they could have done or used to change the way their working conditions? And then who could the workers ask to help them that would be strong enough to enforce any kind of change? Right? All right. Meet you back at part 2.